Breaking right now, an extraordinary new bitch fight has broken out within Reform UK, this time exposing the civil war within the party on a public stage. And let's just say the management of the party have not come out well of this one. So it's a case of Isabel Oakeshott, who is the partner of Reform UK deputy leader Richard Tice, going for, in quite a vicious manner, Sophie Corcoran, a Reform UK member who is a regular here on Outspoken. I'm going to take you through how this whole row erupted. Then we're going to hear from Sophie Corcoran herself and get analysis from Father Calvin Robinson. But it was quite an innocent tweet, actually, from Sophie. A post on X after Reform UK revealed that they were going to support lifting the two-child benefit cap, a policy which is not conservative in any way. And Sophie posted, "There are a lot of true conservatives in Reform who are opposed to the two-child cap. If Reform really is an alternative to the Conservatives, if it pushes for Labour-like policies, then who knows what will happen." Isabel Oakeshott replied, "There's a cap on how many times you can switch party without looking a moron. You exceeded it a while back." Now, that was an astonishing response on so many levels. Because, of course, not only was it bitchy and nasty and exposed the fact that no dissent, no discussion with Reform UK will be tolerated on any level, it's also quite hypocritical, given the fact that so many folk are in Reform UK after defecting from, for example, the Conservative Party. And that's where Sophie Corcoran decided she wasn't going to take being bullied by the thuggish Reform UK management. She responded by writing, "Haven't switched parties, you snide bitch. It is a policy that many people in Reform would be against because it makes no fucking sense. But you wouldn't know that as you are an unprincipled cow who stabs everyone in the back. Look in the mirror." She added, "There are a lot of true conservatives in Reform who are opposed to the two-child cap. Is Reform really an alternative to the Conservatives if it pushes for Labour-like policies? Would I vote for a party that expands the welfare state and doesn't advocate for fiscal responsibility and a small state? Probably not. It's why I no longer wanted to vote Conservative, because they didn't deliver on that message. But it seems Reform aren't either. You know what I don't get with Reform," Sophie went on. "They chase the Tory vote, but slag off those who did what they wanted and got involved with the project and want to see smart, sensible policies that are a real Conservative agenda. Should all people that have voted or been part of the Tories leave Reform? Because that will include your husband, and Sarah Poachin, the new MP, and most of your members. I may only be in my early 20s, but I will happily stand up to people more than double my age who clearly haven't grown out of their secondary school attitude. I'm not afraid of any of these people. I will stand up for what I think is right for the country. Thanks for the messages of support. Apologies for the language, but this woman is constantly rude, condescending, and disrespectful to everyone. People tiptoe around her like she's a princess, but someone has to tell her to fuck off once in a while." Now, Sophie got a lot of support, a huge amount of support, including from Rupert Lowe, which I'll show you in just a moment. But first, Father Calvin Robinson, let's have a look at this exclusive response from Sophie Corcoran, which she has recorded today for Outspoken.
Reform obviously said that they want to scrap the two-child benefit cap, with Nigel Farage saying it's the right thing to do. I, like many other people in Reform, was a former Conservative supporter that went to Reform because they positioned themselves to be a centre-right party that would champion the values that the Conservatives would traditionally came to champion, but they ultimately failed to deliver on. I believe in fairness, I believe in personal responsibility, I believe in economic responsibility, and I believe in living within your means. The two-child benefit cap is fair, it promotes a small state, it promotes limited welfare, it promotes people living within their means, and it is economically responsible. I think it's important that people understand that when it comes to the two-child benefit cap, that it obviously applies to a cap on universal credit as opposed to what we would know as the child benefit that everyone is entitled to. Scrapping the cap essentially would mean nothing else than those who are already on benefits being able to claim more money. And this is particularly important when we recognise the fact that only 14% of white British households have 3 or more children, as opposed to 41% Pakistani households or just under 40% Bangladeshi households. So it's quite clear to see who this policy is going to impact. But not only that, scrapping the 2-child benefit cap is anti-small state, it is promoting an expansion of the welfare state, it is anti-personal responsibility, it is deeply unfair. I mean, why on earth should taxpayers have to pay for people to have children that those people can't afford when those taxpayers can't even afford to have children themselves? I mean, it's absolutely bonkers. Not only that, it's economically reckless. It is not something that parties are really going to be able to deliver. And political parties should stop promising things that they're not going to be able to deliver. That's what the Conservatives did at the last election. That's where they went wrong. And of course, I called this out because I just think it's an absolutely ludicrous idea. It's a socialist policy, and the personal attack started straight away, a little bit like what we saw that happened with Rupert Lowe. I've never really experienced being in a place that is so anti-free speech as Reform. I mean, if you even want to make the most mildest of criticisms, you're going to be looking over your shoulder, going to be in receipt of personal attacks, or be thrown out of the party. But like I said, this is a socialist policy. It is a left-wing Labour policy to scrap the benefits cap. And it is something that I don't think that Reform should champion. So, of course, I'm someone that puts country over party every single time, and I'm going to call it out. You know, if I wanted a socialist policy, I'd vote Labour.
Father Calvin Robinson, so I think that was a very reasonable response from Sophie Corcoran, who was trying to have a reasonable policy discussion about this further lurch to the left by Reform UK, which is now undeniable, and she's called a moron by Isabel Oakeshott. Sophie then responds back saying, "You're a snide bitch. Whose side are you on here?" But first, some struggle to fall asleep, others to stay asleep, and many wake in the night with racing thoughts. I have to be honest, I do. Do you? Oh, it's annoying if you're tossing and turning for hours. I found out, though, that saffron is more than just a spice. It's shown in multiple human studies to help you fall asleep faster, stay asleep longer, and wake up refreshed without next day grogginess. It works by boosting natural melatonin without dependency on morning fog, calming the nervous system, helping your mind unwind, improving mood and stress resilience so you wake up feeling better. Now, the reason why most saffron supplements don't work is because they contain cheap, unstandardized saffron cut with fillers or low-potency extracts delivering weak, inconsistent doses. So this led me to Evening Being by Verso, a melatonin-free drink mix perfected over 3 years with a clinically studied trademark saffron, standardized and concentrated to only the active ingredients proven to enhance sleep, mood and relaxation. It's the most researched bioavailable saffron extract available. It's paired with other clinically studied patented ingredients to promote relaxation and deep uninterrupted sleep. Now I can tell you, after taking Evening Bean, I fall asleep faster. I stay asleep all night. So click in the link in the show description or head on over to evening.ver.so/outspoken and use the coupon code outspoken at checkout to save 15% on your first order. Try Evening Bean tonight. Wake up feeling refreshed tomorrow. Let me repeat the address. That's evening, the word evening.ver.so/outspoken. Use the coupon code outspoken at checkout to save 15%. But now, back to the show.
Oh, I'm not taking either of their sides. I don't think either of them have showed good character in this. But I think it's wrong for Isabel Oakeshott to call Sophie a moron, and it's wrong for Sophie to be swearing at Isabel. The fact that you can't criticise any reform policy is the major concern here. That even members who have left the Conservative Party and joined Reform, which you would think is what they want, are shut down if they even dare criticise the direction the party is going in. Surely they want to be listening to their members. And this comes back to the point that they still don't have members. There is no switching to or from Reform anyway, because there's no membership. You can be a paid supporter. You do not get a vote. You do not get a say. It's not democratic. And hopefully they'll get to that point, but they are not there yet. And I don't understand Isabel's first point. It seems that she thought that Sophie had switched back to the Conservatives from Reform just because she dare criticise where Reform are. Firstly, that's not the case. It seems that Sophie is still a supporter of Reform, not the Conservative Party, but she wants them to be conservative in the way that she recognises conservatism, which is neoliberalism. But our greatest political heroes, Sir Winston Churchill started out in the Conservative Party, went to the Liberal Party, and then back to the Conservative Party. It does happen in politics. And if the greatest political heroes of our country can do it, then so can anyone. So even if she had left Reform and gone back to the Conservatives, wouldn't have been a bigger deal. It's the way that these two women are talking to each other that just demeans the state of politics in our country at the moment. I disagree with that stance. I think it's not particularly conservative to say, well, just take personal responsibility. If you can't afford to have kids, don't have kids. Actually, we want more people to be having children, especially in Britain, where the birth rates are plummeting below 1.4, below replacement at this moment in time. Yes, there is an issue with lots of, particularly Pakistani Muslim families having lots of children, but then stop taking in Pakistani Muslims or deport Pakistani Muslims. But we want to encourage British Christians, conservatives, ordinary Englishmen to have more children. And so if they can't afford it, we need to make sure that they can afford it and not say, oh, we don't have any more kids if you can't afford it. We need to encourage more families in Britain.
Yeah, that's the issue with this policy, though, I think, Father Calvin. And I have to be honest, I'm with the Conservative Party on this. I don't believe that we should be providing benefits for people. I think people do need to be able to afford children. Of course, we have to increase our birth rate. I think there are other ways to do that. I believe, though, Father Calvin, that this policy is simply a play to the Muslim vote. And we know that Nigel Farage and Zia Youssef have made it absolutely clear that they believe the only way that they can gain power is to gain a stranglehold within the Muslim community.
Oh, absolutely. They're always flirting with the Mohammedans. That is part of the problem. We've seen that from the left and the right these days, unfortunately. But in terms of the welfare state, we live in a welfare state. So either we get rid of benefits or we put them to good use. And I would say good use is families.
There was quite a reaction to this row, this feisty row between Isabel Oakeshott and Sophie Corcoran. Rupert Lowe, who's had his own sharp-end experience with the Reform UK party, said, better tell that to your chief whip, of course, referring to the fact that Lee Anderson has gone from Labour to the Conservatives to Reform UK. He then went further, writing, Sophie raised a reasonable concern about the downright stupid Reform policy of expanding benefits, and this is how the leadership reacts, labelling a smart young woman as a moron. Unpleasant, unprofessional, unnecessary. I'm starting to notice a pattern, aren't you? Basil the Great wrote, this reaction from Isabel Oakeshott to Sophie exemplifies one of the main problems with Reform. You criticise a policy, you criticise a person, you criticise anything, and they will brutally attack you. If that isn't a cult mentality, I don't know what is. Chris Rose added, to be fair, Isabel, most Reform voters members I know have been in multiple parties before. Not sure this is the best line of attack when Reform needs people to switch parties. And the Great British Pack added, leave her alone, Isabel. Sophie is an incredibly talented, wise young voice fighting for common sense conservatism like all of us on the so-called patriotic right. You should be champion young women like Sophie, not knocking them down. Shame on you. So a huge amount of support for Sophie Corcoran on this. It wasn't the only war that Reform UK have found themselves in. At least the other one, though, overnight, is not a turquoise on turquoise attack. This is a massive row that has broken out between Nigel Farage and the Labour leader in Scotland, Anas Sarwar. So I'm going to take you through all of this, but first, this is the hysterical video that Sarwar made attacking Nigel Farage.
This little man, Nigel Farage, is. I've just seen him on the TV this morning claiming that I've introduced sectarianism into Scottish politics. I've been fighting against sectarianism all my adult life. And let's just think about this man, Nigel Farage. While I was working in Scotland's NHS, in one of the most deprived communities in the country, he was on the Brussels gravy train. And while I'm campaigning to change our NHS, he wants to privatise our NHS. He's a pathetic little man that knows nothing about Scotland, doesn't understand Scotland, doesn't care about Scotland, and frankly, Scotland's going to reject him.
So what had prompted that outburst? Well, Nigel Farage explained during a Reform UK event yesterday.
There's a bit of a row going on in Scotland. Everyone's having a go at us. Labour, the SNP. So maybe we're getting something right. I think what I'm able to do is to show you what Mr. Sarwar actually said.
And I think it's worth you seeing what Anas Sarwar said, because I have a feeling you're going to be on Nigel
Will only
Farage's
truly get real power if we just have more Pakistanis sitting in council chambers and parliaments, but actually having more Pakistanis and South Asians sitting in the corridors of power making the decisions. And that's where I'll end tonight, is to say the change is coming. And the days where our South Asian community are viewed as a vote bank or a curry bank are well and truly gone. The days where South Asian communities get to lead political parties and get to lead countries is now upon us. The days when South Asian communities get to decide not just which school our children go to, but what they are taught in those schools is also coming.
So, you heard it from the man himself. Here's how Nigel responded.
So it was Anas Sarwar that introduced sectarianism into Scottish politics, making it perfectly clear his priority was to a certain section of the community. All we've done is to put out the exact words spoken by him without any comment. We've said nothing, just that we will represent the people of that constituency. And the fact that they, having chosen to go down the sectarian route, choose to throw accusations back at us, says to me, Natasha, that we are winning.
As Lawrence Fox posted on this row, many people view you as a racist. This is referring to Sarwar. I agree with them. I think you are an anti-white racist, and I wish there was a lot less of you in this country. Lawrence then reminded us all of this video.
Every chief executive of every council and every government department, white. Every director of a department in Scotland, white. Every principal of a college or university in Scotland, white. Every head teacher in Scotland, white. Every chair of a public sector body in Scotland, white. Every High Court judge in Scotland, white. Every prison governor in Scotland, white. Every editor of a news organisation in Scotland, white. Why?
Who's the racist? Father Calvin?
Sarwar is the racist. Not only a racist, an invader. Standing there in front of the Pakistani flag, not the Scottish flag, saying we need more Southeast Asians, which I assume in that context is code talk for Pakistani Muslims, which is what he is. Taking over political parties and countries. Taking over countries is what he said. Now, Pakistanis cannot even run Pakistan right now. Why would we want Pakistani Muslims running Scotland or any country within the United Kingdom? It's outrageous. I think Britain should be run by British people. And the fact that we have this overt invasion and they have the gall to say it's people addressing it who are the sectarians, when he's standing there in front of a foreign flag saying that foreign people should take over political parties in foreign lands and to take over those countries. It's absurd that we put up with this. We would not expect this in Japan. We wouldn't expect it in China. We wouldn't expect it in any other country where they respect their own native people, their own native laws, their own native culture. To have an invading force like this that has to be encouraged and promoted through diversity, equity and inclusion is just self-suicide. We are a kamikaze people right now if we do not stand up against people like Sarwar.
Yeah, and I think when you look at these two men, Father Calvin, Humza Yousaf and Anas Sarwar, it's hard to say that both of these two didn't do damn well out of the United Kingdom, and this form of anti-white racism should be utterly unacceptable. And for me, it absolutely is unacceptable. Thank you so much for watching Dan Wootton Outspoken. Please click on my face just to the bottom left to subscribe to this brand new independent news source and turn on the notification bell so you'll be alerted to our brand new live shows, uncancelled interviews, and special royal episodes. Outspoken is also now available as a podcast, so you can listen to the show every weekday on the go, wherever you are.